dear listeners. Welcome to our podcast. I'm Linda, and I'm here with my good friend Leo. How are you today, Leo?
Hi, Linda. I'm feeling really good today. Thanks. And hello to all of our listeners. We're so excited to be here with you. Today, we're going to talk about something really important: feelings and sentiments.
That's right, Leo. Feelings are such a big part of our lives. Every day, we experience so many different emotions like happiness, sadness, anger, and love. But sometimes, it can be hard to talk about our feelings, especially in a new language. So, we're here to help you understand and express your feelings in English.
Yes, and we'll keep things simple so everyone can follow along, whether you're just starting to learn English or you've been learning for a while.
So, let's start by talking about what feelings and sentiments actually are.
Good idea. Feelings are the emotions you feel inside. For example, when you get a gift, you might feel happy. Or when you have a bad day, you might feel sad. These are feelings: happiness, sadness, anger, fear, and more.
And sentiments are similar, but they're more about how you feel towards something or someone over time. For example, if you have a good friend, you might have a strong sentiment of affection for them. It's not just a momentary feeling, it's something that lasts.
Right, Linda. So feelings can be quick, like when you feel surprised, but sentiments are usually deeper and last longer, like love or trust.
Exactly. And in this first part of our podcast, we're going to talk about some of the most common feelings that everyone experiences. We'll explain what they mean, give you examples, and teach you how to use these words in English.
Let's start with one of the most basic and positive feelings: happiness.
Happiness is a feeling of being glad or joyful. It's when everything feels good and you have a big smile on your face. You might feel happy when you're with friends, when you're doing something fun, or when you receive good news.
For example, I feel happy when I listen to music I like. Linda, what makes you feel happy?
I feel happy when I'm spending time with my family, especially when we're all laughing together. What about you, listeners? Think about what makes you feel happy. You can even say it out loud if you want to practice your English.
That's a great idea. Practicing by saying things out loud can help you learn faster. Now, let's talk about a feeling that's the opposite of happiness: sadness.
Sadness is a feeling you get when something doesn't go well, or when you lose something or someone important. It's when you feel down and don't have much energy to do things.
For example, I feel sad when I miss someone I care about, like when a friend moves away. It's okay to feel sad sometimes. Everyone does.
Yes, it's a normal part of life. And just like with happiness, it's important to talk about sadness so others can understand how you feel. Remember, it's okay to say, "I feel sad," when you need to.
Another common feeling is anger. This is when you feel mad or upset because something bad happens or someone does something you don't like.
Anger can make your body feel tense, and you might want to shout or cry. But it's important to learn how to manage your anger so it doesn't hurt you or others.
That's true, Linda. When you're angry, you can try to take deep breaths, count to 10, or talk to someone about why you're upset. These things can help you calm down.
Yes, those are great tips. Now, let's move on to a feeling that's very different from anger: fear.
Fear is what you feel when you're scared or when something seems dangerous. It's a natural reaction that helps protect us. For example, you might feel fear if you're in a dark place and hear a strange noise.
But fear isn't always a bad thing. It can help you be careful and make good decisions, like staying away from danger.
Exactly, and it's also okay to talk about your fears. Saying "I'm scared" or "I'm afraid" can help you feel better and let others know you need support.
Now that we've talked about some basic feelings: happiness, sadness, anger, and fear, let's think about how we can recognize these feelings in ourselves and in others.
Good point, Linda. Sometimes people don't say how they feel, but you can see it in their faces or actions. For example, if someone is smiling and laughing, they're probably happy. But if they're quiet and have a frown, they might be sad or upset.
And it's important to pay attention to these signs so you can understand how others feel and know how to respond. If someone looks sad, you can ask them if they're okay or if they need someone to talk to.
Yes, and this helps build better relationships because when we understand each other's feelings, we can be kinder and more supportive.
And we'll dive deeper into some more complex feelings and how to talk about them in English.
Okay, and now we're going to go a bit deeper. We're going to explore some more complex feelings that might be a bit harder to describe but are just as important to understand.
That's right. And we'll also talk about how these feelings can mix together, because sometimes we don't just feel one thing at a time. For example, you can feel happy and nervous at the same time. We'll explain how that works.
Let's start with a feeling that many of us experience but might not talk about much: confusion. Linda, how would you describe confusion?
Confusion is when you don't understand something or when you're not sure what to do. It's like being lost in your mind. Maybe you've been in a situation where someone explains something and you just don't get it. That's confusion.
Yes, like when you're learning something new and it's hard to follow. Or when you're in a place you've never been before and you don't know which way to go.
Exactly. Confusion can be frustrating because you want to understand or make a decision, but you can't. And when you're learning English, it's okay to feel confused sometimes. It's all part of the learning process.
That's so true. Everyone feels confused at some point, especially when they're learning something new. What can help is asking questions or taking a moment to think things through.
Yes, asking for help is really important. You can say, "I'm confused," or "Can you explain that again, please?" It's a simple way to let others know you need more information.
Another feeling that's a bit more complex is disappointment. This is when you expect something good to happen, but it doesn't. It's like looking forward to something and then feeling let down when it doesn't go as planned.
Disappointment can happen in many situations. Maybe you worked really hard on a project, but it didn't turn out the way you wanted. Or maybe you were excited to meet a friend, but they had to cancel. That feeling of being let down is disappointment.
And it's okay to feel disappointed. It's a natural reaction when things don't go the way we hope. But it's also important to learn how to move past disappointment. Maybe you can try again or look at the situation differently.
That's a good point, Leo. Sometimes, when we feel disappointed, it helps to think about what we can learn from the situation. Maybe next time, we'll do things differently, or maybe we'll realize that it wasn't as bad as we thought.
And talking about your disappointment with someone you trust can also help. Saying, "I feel disappointed because ... double quotes is a good way to start the conversation.
Now, let's talk about a feeling that's a bit harder to describe: jealousy. Jealousy is when you feel upset because you want something that someone else has. It could be something physical, like a toy or a car, or it could be something like attention or success.
Yes, jealousy can be tricky because it's not just about wanting what someone else has. It's also about feeling like you're missing out. For example, if your friend gets a new job and you're still looking for one, you might feel jealous.
And jealousy can happen in relationships too. Maybe you feel jealous if your friend spends more time with someone else, and you wish they were spending that time with you.
It's normal to feel jealous sometimes, but it's important to recognize it and think about why you feel that way. Jealousy can lead to negative thoughts or actions if you don't address it.
Yes, and one way to deal with jealousy is to focus on what you have and what makes you happy. You can also talk about your feelings with someone who can help you see things more clearly.
Another complex feeling we should talk about is guilt. Guilt is the feeling you get when you think you've done something wrong or when you feel responsible for something bad that happened.
Guilt can be a heavy feeling. It's like a weight on your shoulders that doesn't go away until you deal with it. For example, if you say something that hurts a friend's feelings, you might feel guilty about it later.
And guilt can sometimes lead to feelings of regret where you wish you could go back and change what you did. But it's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes. What's important is how you handle those mistakes.
Exactly. If you feel guilty about something, it's important to apologize if you've hurt someone. Saying "I'm sorry" can be really powerful and can help you and the other person feel better.
And sometimes you might feel guilty even if you didn't do anything wrong. In those cases, it can help to talk to someone and get their perspective. They might help you see that you're being too hard on yourself.
That's a really good point, Leo. Now, let's talk about a positive but complex feeling: pride. Pride is the feeling of satisfaction you get when you've done something well, or when you feel good about something that's important to you.
Pride can be about your own achievements, like doing well on a test or completing a big project. But it can also be about feeling proud of someone else, like when a friend or family member does something great.
Yes, and pride is a healthy feeling when it's balanced. It's good to feel proud of your accomplishments and to recognize your hard work. But it's also important to stay humble and not let pride turn into arrogance.
That's right. Feeling proud doesn't mean you think you're better than others. It just means you appreciate what you've done. And it's also important to share your pride with others, like saying, "I'm proud of what I've achieved," or "I'm proud of you."
Now that we've talked about some more complex feelings: confusion, disappointment, jealousy, guilt, and pride, let's think about how these feelings can sometimes mix together.
Yes, feelings are rarely simple. For example, you might feel proud of finishing a difficult task, but also feel a little sad that it's over. Or you might feel happy for a friend's success, but also a bit jealous that it's not you.
And that's completely normal. We're all complex people, and our feelings can be complex too. The important thing is to understand what you're feeling and why, so you can manage your emotions in a healthy way.
One way to do this is to name your feelings. Sometimes just saying what you feel, like "I'm feeling proud but also a little sad," can help you understand your emotions better.
Yes, and it's also helpful to talk about your mixed feelings with someone you trust. They can offer support and help you see things from a different perspective.
Before we go ahead, let's quickly talk about how you can use what we've discussed today in your English learning.
That's a great idea, Leo. One way to practice is to think about your day and write down the different feelings you experienced. Try to use the new words we've talked about today, like confusion, disappointment, jealousy, guilt, and pride.
And don't be afraid to use these words in conversations with others. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become with expressing your feelings in English.
You can also try to recognize these feelings in others. When you're watching a movie or reading a story, think about how the characters feel and how they express those feelings.
That's a great tip, Linda, and remember, understanding your feelings and being able to talk about them is a big part of learning any language. It helps you connect with others and express yourself more clearly. And now we're going to talk about how these feelings and sentiments play a big role in our relationships with others.
That's right, Leo. Relationships are such an important part of our lives, whether they're with family, friends, or even people we work with. And the way we feel and how we express those feelings can really affect those relationships.
Yes, feelings can bring people closer together, or, if not managed well, they can create distance between us and others. And we'll explore how different feelings impact our relationships and how we can communicate our emotions in a way that strengthens our connections with others.
Let's start with one of the most fundamental feelings in any relationship: love. Love is a deep affection or care you have for someone. It can be the love you feel for your family, your friends, or even your pets. Love makes you want to protect and take care of the people who are important to you.
Love is a powerful emotion that can bring a lot of joy and happiness, but it can also bring challenges. For example, when you love someone, you might worry about them or feel hurt if they don't show the same feelings back.
That's true, Leo. Love is one of those emotions that can mix with many others. You might feel happy and content when you're with someone you love, but you might also feel anxious or insecure if things aren't going well.
Yes, and this is where communication becomes really important. If you're feeling insecure or unsure about a relationship, talking about your feelings can help clear up misunderstandings and bring you closer to the person you care about.
Exactly. You might say something like, I feel really close to you, but sometimes I'm worrying that you don't feel the same way. This opens the door for an honest conversation, where both people can share how they feel.
Another important feeling in relationships is trust. Trust is believing that someone will be honest with you and will keep your best interests in mind. Without trust, it's hard to feel safe and secure in any relationship.
Trust is built over time through actions and words. For example, if a friend tells you a secret and you keep it safe, they'll trust you more. But if you break that trust, it can be hard to repair.
Yes, rebuilding trust takes time and effort. It requires honesty, consistency, and sometimes forgiveness. If you've broken someone's trust, it's important to acknowledge what happened and work to make things right.
And if you're the one who's lost trust in someone, it's okay to take your time to rebuild that trust. It's important to communicate your feelings and let the other person know what you need from them.
Another feeling that often comes up in relationships is gratitude. Gratitude is feeling thankful for what someone has done for you or for the positive things in your life. It's a feeling that can really strengthen relationships.
Gratitude is like a warm feeling in your heart. When you feel grateful, you appreciate the little things that others do for you, like when someone listens to you, helps you out, or just spends time with you.
And expressing gratitude is just as important as feeling it. A simple thank you can go a long way in making someone feel valued and appreciated.
Definitely. You can also be specific about what you're grateful for, like saying, I really appreciate that you helped me with my work today, or thank you for always being there when I need someone to talk to. This makes your gratitude even more meaningful.
Another feeling that can affect relationships is resentment. Resentment is a feeling of bitterness or anger that builds up when you feel like you've been treated unfairly or when your feelings have been hurt repeatedly.
Resentment can be really damaging to relationships because it often grows over time if it's not addressed. You might start to feel distant from the person you're resenting, and it can lead to conflicts or even the end of a relationship.
Yes, it's important to recognize when you're feeling resentful and to talk about it before it gets worse. You could say something like, I've been feeling upset about something that happened, and I think we need to talk about it.
And when someone tells you they're feeling resentful, it's important to listen without getting defensive. It's an opportunity to understand how they feel and to work on resolving the issue together.
On the other hand, let's talk about empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. When you're empathetic, you put yourself in someone else's shoes and try to feel what they're feeling.
Empathy is crucial in building strong relationships because it helps us connect with others on a deeper level. When someone is going through a tough time, showing empathy can make them feel supported and understood.
That's right. You can show empathy by listening carefully, acknowledging their feelings, and offering support. For example, if a friend is sad, you might say, I'm really sorry you're going through this. I can imagine how hard it must be.
And empathy isn't just about the words you use, it's also about your actions. Sometimes, just being there for someone, giving them a hug, or offering to help can show that you understand and care about what they're going through.
Another feeling that often comes up in relationships is envy. Envy is similar to jealousy, but it's more about wanting something that someone else has, like their success, their possessions, or even their qualities.
Envy can be tricky because it can make you feel less happy with yourself and your own life. It's easy to start comparing yourself to others and feeling like you're not good enough.
But it's important to remember that everyone has their own journey and their own challenges, even if it doesn't always seem that way. Instead of letting envy take over, try to focus on your own strengths and what makes you unique.
Yes, and if you feel envious of someone, it can help to talk about it. You might find that the other person understands your feelings and can even offer you support or advice.
And sometimes, envy can be a signal that there's something you want to work towards in your own life. Instead of feeling bad about it, you can use that feeling as motivation to achieve your own goals.
Let's also talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is letting go of anger or resentment towards someone who has hurt you. It doesn't mean you forget what happened, but it does mean you choose to move past it and not hold it against the person anymore.
Forgiveness can be really hard, especially if you've been deeply hurt. But holding on to anger can keep you stuck in the past and prevent you from moving forward.
That's true, Leo. Forgiveness is more about freeing yourself from negative feelings than it is about the other person. It can help you find peace and rebuild relationships if that's what you want.
And if you're the one asking for forgiveness, it's important to show that you're truly sorry and willing to make things right. Sometimes just saying I'm sorry and meaning it can be the first step towards healing a relationship.
Another feeling that can deeply impact relationships is loneliness. Loneliness is the feeling of being alone or isolated, even when you're around other people. It's a sense that you're not connected to anyone.
Loneliness can happen for many reasons. Maybe you've moved to a new place and don't know anyone. Or maybe you're going through a tough time and feel like no one understands you.
It's important to recognize when you're feeling lonely and to reach out for connection. Sometimes, just talking to someone, even if it's about something small, can help you feel less alone.
And if you notice someone else seems lonely, reaching out to them can make a big difference. A simple "how are you?" or inviting them to join you in something can help them feel more connected.
Yes, small gestures of kindness can go a long way. And remember, it's okay to ask for help if you're feeling lonely. There are people who care about you and want to be there for you.
Finally, let's talk about joy. Joy is a deep feeling of happiness and contentment. It's a bit different from regular happiness because it often comes from within and can be felt even when things aren't perfect.
Joy is something we can experience in the little moments of life, like spending time with loved ones, achieving a goal, or even just enjoying a beautiful day. It's a feeling that makes you feel alive and grateful.
And joy is something that's often shared. When you feel joyful, it can spread to others and create a positive atmosphere. Sharing your joy with others can strengthen your relationships and bring people closer together.
That's so true.
And even when life is challenging, finding moments of joy can help you stay positive and connected to others. And we've talked about a lot of feelings: love, trust, gratitude, resentment, empathy, envy, forgiveness, loneliness, and joy. These are all emotions that play a big role in our relationships, and understanding them can help us communicate better and build stronger connections with others.
Exactly. Relationships are a big part of our lives, and the way we handle our feelings can make them stronger or weaker. By being aware of our emotions and learning how to express them, we can create healthier and happier relationships. And we'll dive into how feelings and sentiments can affect our decision-making and behavior. And we'll give you some tips on how to manage your emotions in different situations.
Okay, and we've explored the basics of feelings, delved into more complex emotions, and looked at how our feelings impact our relationships. And now we're going to talk about something really important: how our feelings and sentiments influence the decisions we make and how we behave in different situations.
That's right, Leo. Our emotions don't just affect how we feel inside, they also play a big role in the choices we make every day. Whether it's a small decision, like what to eat for breakfast, or a big one, like changing jobs, our feelings often guide us in ways we might not even realize.
Absolutely, and understanding how our emotions influence our decisions can help us make better choices, both in our personal lives and in our interactions with others. So let's start by talking about one of the most common feelings that affects decision-making: fear.
Fear is a powerful emotion that can sometimes keep us safe, like when we avoid dangerous situations. But it can also hold us back from taking risks or trying new things, even when those risks could lead to something positive.
For example, have you ever wanted to try something new, like learning a new skill or making a big change in your life, but felt afraid of failing? That fear can make you hesitate or even stop you from taking that first step.
That's so true, Leo. Fear of failure is something many of us experience. It's that little voice in your head that says, "What if I'm not good enough?" Or "What if things don't work out?" But if we let fear control our decisions, we might miss out on opportunities to grow and learn.
Exactly. One way to manage fear is to acknowledge it and then think about what's really at stake. Sometimes just breaking things down and looking at the possible outcomes can help you see that the risk isn't as big as it seems.
Yes, and it's also helpful to remember that everyone feels fear sometimes, even people who seem very confident. The key is not to let that fear stop you from moving forward. You can ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And what could I gain if I take this risk?
Another emotion that plays a big role in decision-making is happiness. When we're happy, we're more likely to make decisions that reflect that positive state of mind. We might be more generous, more willing to help others, or more open to new experiences.
Happiness can definitely make us feel more confident and optimistic. But it's also important to remember that decisions made when we're feeling really happy might not always be the most thoughtful ones. Sometimes, in our excitement, we might overlook important details or rush into things.
That's a good point, Linda. For example, if you're really happy because you just got a promotion at work, you might feel like celebrating by making a big purchase. But it's important to step back and think, is this really the best decision for me right now?
Exactly. It's about finding a balance, enjoying your happiness, but also making sure your decisions are thoughtful and well-considered. And the same goes for decisions made when we're feeling sad or angry. These emotions can cloud our judgment and lead to choices we might later regret.
That's so true. When we're angry, for example, we might say or do things in the heat of the moment that we wouldn't normally do. These impulsive decisions can damage our relationships or lead to negative consequences.
Yes, and when we're sad, we might make decisions based on how we feel in that moment rather than what's best for us in the long run. For example, if you're feeling down, you might avoid social situations that could actually help you feel better.
So, what can we do to make better decisions when we're feeling strong emotions? One strategy is to give yourself some time before making a decision. This allows your emotions to settle and you can think more clearly.
Yes, taking a moment to breathe, reflect, and even talk things over with someone you trust can make a big difference. It's like hitting the pause button so you can consider your options more carefully.
Another strategy is to think about the long-term impact of your decision. Ask yourself, how will I feel about this decision tomorrow, next week, next year? This can help you move beyond your immediate emotions and make a choice that aligns with your long-term goals and values.
That's a great approach, Leo. And it's also important to recognize when you're making a decision based on guilt or obligation rather than what you truly want or need. These feelings can push us into decisions that aren't really in our best interest.
Yes, guilt can make us say yes to things we don't really want to do just to avoid feeling bad or disappointing someone else. But it's important to remember that it's okay to say no sometimes, especially if saying yes would make you unhappy or stressed.
Exactly. It's all about being honest with yourself and others about what you can and can't do. Setting boundaries is a healthy way to take care of yourself and make decisions that are right for you.
Now, let's talk about how hope and anticipation influence our decisions. These are feelings that can drive us to pursue our dreams and take positive steps toward our goals. When we feel hopeful, we're more likely to take actions that reflect that optimism.
Hope can be a powerful motivator. It's that feeling that things will get better, that the future holds something good. When we're hopeful, we're more likely to take risks and try new things because we believe they'll lead to positive outcomes.
But it's also important to keep our hopes realistic. Sometimes, if we're too focused on a hopeful outcome, we might ignore warning signs or make decisions based on wishful thinking rather than reality.
That's a good point, Leo. Hope should inspire us to take action, but it's also important to stay grounded and realistic. We can ask ourselves, what steps can I take to make this hope a reality? And what challenges might I need to overcome?
And let's not forget about regret. Regret is a feeling that often comes after we realize that a decision we made wasn't the best one. It's that nagging feeling of wishing we could go back and do things differently.
Regret can be tough to deal with because it can make us feel stuck in the past, constantly thinking about what we should have done. But it's important to remember that regret is also a learning opportunity.
That's right. Instead of getting stuck in regret, we can use it to learn and grow. We can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this experience? And how can I make a better decision next time?
And sometimes, it's about forgiving ourselves. We're all human, and we all make mistakes. What's important is that we learn from them and keep moving forward.
Now, let's talk about curiosity and how it influences our decisions. Curiosity is that feeling of wanting to know more, to explore, and to understand. It's what drives us to ask questions, try new things, and seek out new experiences.
Curiosity is a wonderful feeling because it opens up so many possibilities. When we're curious, we're more likely to take risks and explore new opportunities. But it's also important to make sure our curiosity leads us in a positive direction.
Yes, curiosity can sometimes lead us into situations where we might take risks without fully understanding the consequences. It's important to balance curiosity with caution, asking ourselves, is this something that's safe and beneficial for me to explore?
And curiosity can also help us in our relationships and in our learning. By staying curious about others and about the world around us, we keep our minds open and ready to grow.
Speaking of relationships, let's talk about how empathy and compassion influence our decisions, especially when it comes to others. These feelings help us consider the impact of our choices on the people around us.
Empathy allows us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes to understand what they're going through. When we make decisions with empathy, we're more likely to consider how our actions will affect others and to make choices that are kind and thoughtful.
Compassion takes this a step further. It's not just understanding someone's feelings, but also wanting to help or support them. When we make decisions with compassion, we're motivated by a desire to do good and to make a positive difference in someone's life.
Compassionate decisions often lead to stronger relationships and a sense of fulfillment. They remind us that our choices don't just affect us, they affect everyone around us.
And finally, let's talk about contentment. Contentment is that feeling of being at peace with where you are and what you have. It's a sense of satisfaction that helps us appreciate the present moment.
Contentment is a beautiful feeling because it helps us make decisions that are grounded in gratitude and peace.
It's about recognizing that we don't always need more or better sometimes. What we have is enough. Contentment can guide us to make decisions that bring long-term happiness rather than short-term satisfaction.
And it's important to remember that contentment doesn't mean we stop striving for our goals. It means we appreciate where we are on the way to where we're going.
So, we've explored how a wide range of feelings fear, happiness, sadness, anger, guilt, hope, regret, curiosity, empathy, compassion, and contentment can influence the decisions we make and the way we behave.
Emotions are a big part of being human, and they play a huge role in our lives every day. By understanding our emotions and how they affect our decisions, we can make choices that are more thoughtful, more compassionate, and ultimately more fulfilling.
We hope this podcast has given you some valuable insights into your own feelings and how they shape your life. Remember, it's okay to feel a wide range of emotions, and it's okay to take the time to understand and process those feelings before making decisions.
And as you go about your day, try to be mindful of how your emotions influence your choices. Whether it's a small decision or a big one, take a moment to check in with yourself and make sure your choice is aligned with your true feelings and values.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through feelings and sentiments. We've enjoyed every moment of it, and we hope you have too. Remember, your feelings are valid, and understanding them is a key part of learning and growing.
We wish you all the best as you continue to learn English and explore your own emotions. Keep practicing, keep reflecting, and keep connecting with the world around you.
Thank you so much for listening.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.